It's time for our regular Tuesday market update now when it comes to the Zimbabwean markets. And for some perspective, joining me at the desk this morning is Arnold Dhlamini. He's a stockbroker at BancABC. Arnold, thanks so much for joining us today. And it's good to have you here at the desk as opposed to on the line with you sitting in Zimbabwe. Let's take a look at the markets specifically. I mean, give us a market overview, first of all, over the past week and your interpretation of the kind of activity we've been seeing.
Okay, thank you, Alishia. Morning. I think basically our market at the moment, Zim, has been driven more by the big caps, and what we've seen, most of the hype has been coming from Econet, Delta and Insco, and we've seen their dominance actually moving the market, and a lot of the money, the funds that are flowing into Zimbabwe is coming towards those counters, those sort of stocks.
To what extent is that a concern? Because that highlights the lack of broad-based activity within the Zimbabwean market right now.
Yeah, I think basically what it shows is the lack of depth in our market. I think the market is hungry for more listings, but also mentioning the big companies that we have, the blue chips, as they move up. I think the market now needs to also take a look at the lower downstream in terms of the value chain of these companies. Who else is feeding into these companies?
To what extent are those valuations on the big caps that are getting the attention becoming a little stretched now, and therefore, at a point we're going to see investors forced to look at other avenues simply because of the price they're looking at?
I think if you look at our economy, it's pretty much a small economy, and in terms of the listed entities, you look at the big caps, they pretty much are reflecting what the economy is. So for as long as we're looking for a growth in our economy, a lot of that growth will be reflected in the performance of these companies. So we expect even better and more performance from these
valuations are still enticing at current levels?
Yeah, they look stretched if you look at historicals, but looking at their forward performance, I think you're looking at better, I think, positioning in terms of valuations.
So it's the prospects ahead and what they're looking to put on the table that's acting as the incentive right now. Let's get a bit specific and take a look at some of the counters that are certainly getting your attention.
Yeah. I think in terms of what we project, I think in terms of our recommendations, obviously your blue chips are your generics, and Econet for one is the highlight. I think it's pretty much a good stock. Econet essentially has become the gateway for all the technology that comes through into Zimbabwe. And we expect it to continue driving that technology, and given that we are still behind in terms of the gap between Zimbabwe and the international world, there is still scope for Econet. So we expect...
What regional growth prospects are we looking at for a company like Econet?
I think for Econet, in terms of growth, I think it's pretty much tying in with partners across the world in terms of driving other products. But for the Zim market, essentially they will become they are like the standard in terms of technology, and they lead the market. So it's pretty much on the question of what partnership they get into with outside companies.
Of course, we've got the those that stand on the radar screen as regulars at Delta, Econet, Insco, BAT, OK as well. What are some of the less obvious stocks right now that have gotten your attention and are glaring bright on your radar screen?
I think at the top of my list, I think I'll put the cement companies. I think looking at Zimbabwe and also the position in terms of where we look in the economy to go to, I think we're going to see a lot of construction coming through as well. And also as the big companies also perform better, we're going to see them also plowing in more in terms of growth and setting up more construction for themselves. And a lot of cement is going to be needed for that.
So a company like Lafarge,
yes, will still be a good buy. And
how many options do you have, though? I mean, on the surface, it looks like you've got a pretty limited scope here for investing within that category.
Yes, I think that the scope is very limited. Again, it brings me back to the issue of us wanting the market being hungry for more listings. But it's, I mean, as Zimbabwe as it is, I think it's a green market for that sort of, I think, investment.